Dee Dee and her daughter Gypsy Rose live in their new home provided by Habitat for Humanity. They relocated to a Springfield, Missouri neighborhood in 2008 after their previous home was destroyed by Hurricane Katrina in 2005. They sit for a television interview where Dee Dee expresses how obtaining the house was like a dream come true for her. Dee Dee shaves Gypsy's head in the kitchen sink. While they converse, Dee Dee prepares a concoction of medication and administers it to Gypsy's stomach through a long tube. Later that night, Dee Dee sings a lullaby to her daughter and fits her with a sleep apnea machine before bedtime. After ensuring Gypsy is asleep, Dee Dee opens a closet filled with various medication bottles and takes a few pills for herself, including one labeled Sleepy Baby. The following day, they receive an unexpected visit from their neighbor, Lacey. She offers to give Gypsy a makeover, and Dee Dee reluctantly consents. During the makeover, the two girls start to form a connection, and Gypsy confides that her father used to mock her walking as a child before she began using a wheelchair. Later, she makes sure to remove all the makeup, much to Gypsy's disappointment. The following morning, the mother-daughter pair decides to venture out and meet new people in their neighborhood. First, they encounter Lacey and her boyfriend, Mel, washing their car. Dee Dee approaches Lacey's mother, Mel, who is relaxing with her friend Shelley. They engage in a conversation about parenthood, but Dee Dee repeatedly highlights her daughter's suffering from various illnesses, including paraplegia, epilepsy, anemia, and a heart murmur. Shelley and Mel are deeply impressed by Dee Dee's strength in caring for her ailing child. However, the conversation takes an abrupt turn when Lacey offers Gypsy a sip of Coke. Dee Dee rushes to her daughter, emphasizing that Gypsy is allergic to sugar. The following day, Dee Dee takes Gypsy to the mall. Gypsy pleads with her mother to buy a blue necklace, but instead of purchasing it, Dee Dee surreptitiously places the necklace in Gypsy's bag. Only at the last moment does she notice her neighbor Mel observing her actions. In the evening, Dee Dee attempts to talk to Mel, who dismisses her. In an effort to buy Mel's silence, Dee Dee plans a party at her house, inviting all the neighbors. Meanwhile, Gypsy seizes the opportunity to search for best friend and boyfriend kiss on her mother's laptop and promptly deletes the search history before her mother's return. The scene shifts to the party, where numerous people gather, enjoying themselves in the yard. Dee Dee engages in conversations with the guests one by one. However, Gypsy decides to eat a cupcake, which could be fatal for her. Witnessing this, her mother panics and hastily administers an EpiPen injection. This shocking incident leaves everyone pondering the immense pain Dee Dee endures to care for her sick daughter. Gypsy awakens in the hospital and overhears the doctor informing Dee Dee that she is not allergic to sugar. Upon leaving the hospital, they encounter Mel, who has been waiting outside to return Dee Dee's wallet, inadvertently left at the party. Dee Dee expresses her gratitude and confides her desire not to be viewed as a woman with a tarnished reputation due to her past. Mel reveals her own troubled history and offers to start anew, understanding Dee Dee's predicament. At night, Gypsy tucks her daughter into bed and places her customary sleep apnea machine. As Gypsy drifts off to sleep, Dee Dee secretly accesses a cache of checks addressed to Claudine Blanchard, presumably her real name. Subsequently, she retires to bed beside her daughter. Less than an hour later, Gypsy awakens while her mother is asleep, disables her machine, and rises from her bed. Gypsy, who had been a wheelchair user until this moment, stands on her feet and slowly tiptoes her way out of the room. She proceeds to the kitchen, indulging in whipped cream while preparing her EpiPen. However, after consuming a handful, there's no allergic reaction, revealing that she isn't allergic to sugar as her mother had claimed. Gypsy, realizing her mother's deception, returns to her room and is startled to find her mother awake. Dee Dee angrily instructs her to return to bed. On another night, Gypsy sits in front of her laptop, watching makeup tutorials on YouTube while indulging in frosting and a Coca-Cola. She begins to experience a toothache, possibly due to secretly consuming sugar. The following morning, Dee Dee wakes Gypsy with exciting news. Gypsy has been named the community's Child of the Year. While Gypsy is elated, her mother notices her dental issues. Dee Dee immediately suspects an underlying medical condition and takes her daughter to see their pediatrician, Dr. Harley. At the hospital, they meet with the doctor, and Dee Dee believes that Gypsy's acid reflux has caused her tooth problems. The doctor calls for a gastroenterologist, Dr. Chandra, to examine Gypsy. Dee Dee discreetly steals Dr. Chandra's prescription pad from the counter. Dr. Chandra suggests an urgent dental appointment, but Dee Dee insists on addressing Gypsy's acid reflux first, raising the doctor's suspicions. She requests Gypsy's medical records, but Dee Dee claims they were lost during Hurricane Katrina and hurriedly leaves with her daughter. Later, Dr. Chandra questions Dr. Harley about confirming Gypsy's complete medical history, but Dr. Harley is unable to provide an answer. Dee Dee and Gypsy waiting in their car outside a pharmacy. Surprisingly, Dee Dee uses the stolen prescription pad to forge prescriptions. Gypsy experiences severe tooth decay while brushing her teeth. She cries out in pain, leaving the sink bloody. In response, her mother starts giving her unnecessary medications. After some time, Dee Dee takes Gypsy to Lacey's house, where Lacey is hanging out with her friends. During a casual conversation, one of the girls notices Gypsy's decaying tooth, leading Gypsy to confess that she has been sneaking out to eat sweets at night. Meanwhile, Dr. Chandra remains suspicious and continues her inquiries. She makes several calls to hospitals to learn more about Gypsy's medical history. Eventually, she contacts Child Protection Services, and Allison, a representative, arrives at Dee Dee's doorstep. Upon seeing this, Dee Dee takes immediate action, administering sleeping pills to Gypsy to make her appear sick. Allison introduces herself and surveys the house. When she inquires about Gypsy, Dee Dee falsely claims that her daughter has the mind of a 7-year-old. Allison proceeds to have a private conversation with a medicated Gypsy while Dee Dee lingers at the doorway. She continuously questions the young girl to assess her condition. However, Gypsy appears disoriented and dizzy as she speaks, seemingly confirming her mother's claims. Following this, Allison queries Dee Dee about her social security card not matching the name on her address, but Dee Dee employs the Hurricane Katrina excuse as she usually does. With this, Allison concludes her visit, finding no suspicious activity. Dee Dee takes Gypsy to the dentist to have her teeth extracted. After being anesthetized, Gypsy awakens to discover that most of her teeth have been removed. She looks at her swollen mouth in the mirror and weeps. Later, Gypsy expresses her reluctance to attend the Child of the Year award, not wanting to be seen in such a state in front of people. Dee Dee becomes furious and insists that Gypsy will attend the event. Dee Dee is preparing her daughter for the event. She also provides dentures for Gypsy to wear while on stage. Gypsy's name is eventually called on stage for the Child of the Year award, accompanied by a $5,000 financial assistance. Dee Dee is overjoyed upon receiving the check. As the crowd cheers for them, Dee Dee gives an emotional speech, and she and Gypsy sing an impromptu rendition of I'll Be There. Meanwhile, Dr. Chandra calls to check on Gypsy and manages to secure an appointment with her, despite Dee Dee's reluctance. In the evening, Gypsy and Dee Dee return to the hospital for their appointment with Dr. Chandra. In her room, the doctor manages to talk with Gypsy alone and attempts to convince her that she isn't allergic to sugar. She offers a can of Coke, but Gypsy refuses to drink it out of loyalty to her mom. When Dee Dee arrives, the doctor puts away the can and starts examining Gypsy. Gypsy continues her routine of sneaking out of bed at night to watch YouTube videos on kissing and cosplays. She prepares for Fantasticon, a cosplay event, while putting makeup on her mom. While checking in at the event, Dee Dee incorrectly states her daughter's birth year as 1995 when asked by the girl at the counter. This confuses Gypsy, as she was always under the impression that she was born in 1993. Soon, they run into Shelley and her boyfriend at the event, while Russ, one of the neighbors, notices Dee Dee and tries to ask her out for a date. Dee Dee changes the subject and asks to go to the restroom, while Gypsy chats with a guy dressed as Wolverine. He introduces himself as Scott, and they discuss their favorite Marvel characters. Gypsy encourages Scott to see the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and they are invited to the front line. Scott lifts Gypsy into one of the seats, and they have fun together. However, their time is cut short when Dee Dee interrupts and rushes Gypsy home. At the same time, Russ attempts to get Dee Dee's attention again and shares that he also had a son in a wheelchair before he died. After returning home and tucking themselves into bed, Gypsy sneaks out again to create a Facebook account in the hope of finding Scott online. She becomes confused about her birth date once more, so she checks her mother's purse. To her surprise, she discovers that her actual birthday is in 1991, making her 19 years old. Angered by her mom's lies, she steals some cash from her. The next day, at a gas station, Gypsy secretly purchases a cell phone. Dee Dee unexpectedly receives a call from Russ, and she asks him where he got her number. Meanwhile, Gypsy begins talking with Scott through her new phone, sharing details about her hospital staff, whom she refers to as her friends. Dee Dee continues to receive phone calls from Russ, but their budding romance is cut short when he offers to help her with her supposedly sick daughter. On the other hand, Gypsy has also grown close to Scott. She subtly suggests that she wants to run away with him and gives him her address in case he wants to send her a gift. To her surprise, he sends her a package containing a red Ariel wig. One day, Lacey catches Gypsy smiling at her phone and asks her about it. Unlike her mother, Gypsy shares everything and talks about Scott, whom she refers to as Prince Charming. Before leaving, she also tells Lacey about her secret Facebook account, which is under the name Emma Rose. Later at night, Gypsy receives a message from Scott saying that he is in the emergency room at the hospital and cannot talk. This worries Gypsy, and she immediately heads to the hospital. When Scott sees her, he is taken aback that Gypsy can stand on her 2 feet. Back at home, Dee Dee wakes up to find that her daughter is nowhere to be seen in the house. She discovers a note that Gypsy left stating that she is running away with her Prince Charming and will never return. Elsewhere, Scott takes Gypsy to his place, and she seems happy to be home with her Prince Charming. She applies an ice pack to his bruises, and after chatting for a while, they share a kiss but are interrupted by Dee Dee at the door. Dee Dee pleads with her daughter to return home and admits that she nearly had an anxiety attack while Gypsy was gone. Upon hearing her mom's distress, Gypsy reluctantly agrees to return. Before leaving, Dee Dee informs Scott that Gypsy is only 14 years old. Once back home, Dee Dee pulls her daughter's red wig off and forces her back into the wheelchair.